Miracles of St. Patrick, the power of faith in action. Have you heard of St. Patrick, the man who, with courage and unshakable faith, took the message of Christianity to an entire nation? St. Patrick is not just a historical figure, it is a powerful example of how faith can change lives and transform entire societies. His journey is full of challenges, miracles, and an impressive determination that, to this day, continues to inspire millions of people around the world. Get ready for a story full of surprises, exciting moments, and life lessons. You will find out how a young slave has become the patron saint of an entire country, facing unimaginable dangers and overcoming obstacles that seemed impossible. Stay with me until the end, because these miracles will mess with your heart and, perhaps, transform your life too. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. Let's spread this message of faith and inspiration. St. Patrick is not only remembered for its preaching and the conversion of Ireland to Christianity, but also by numerous miracles attributed to it. These miracles strengthened their reputation as a man of God, inspiring the Irish people to convert and follow their spiritual leadership. Now, let's explore 8 of St. Patrick's most impressive miracles, each marked by unshakable faith and absolute confidence in divine power. The expulsion of the snakes of Ireland. The history of the expulsion of the snakes by St. Patrick is undoubtedly the most famous among the miracles attributed to him, becoming a powerful symbol of his spiritual mission. According to legend, Patrick would have risen to the hill, where he spent days fasting and prayer, and, with the power of his faith, expelled all the snakes from Ireland to the sea. Although the island's geography and its climate naturally deprive it of snakes, the episode is widely considered an allegory to something much deeper: the spiritual purification of the country and the expulsion of pagan influences and evil. In Christian tradition, the serpent often represents sin and temptation, referring to the biblical narrative of the Garden of Eden, where the serpent induced Adam and Eve to original sin. The expulsion of the snakes for St. Patrick, therefore, carries an intense spiritual symbology. By eliminating the snakes, he was not just freeing the Ireland of dangerous animals, but symbolically driving the dark from paganism and its rituals that dominated the Irish culture at the time. For the Irish, this legend represents the liberation of old religious practices and the arrival of a new era in the light of Christianity. The narrative also reflects the transforming power of St. Patrick's faith. As a missionary, he not only preached, but also performed visible acts that deeply impact the collective imagination. The expulsion of the snakes was a tangible representation of the change he brought to the Irish people, so this story has survived over the centuries, becoming an essential part of Ireland's cultural and religious tradition. The hill where he would have performed the miracle became a spiritual symbol, and many pilgrims still visit the place to this day. In addition to the legend, the expulsion of the snakes can also be seen as a metaphor for the battle of Patrick against the druids, who were the pagan religious leaders of Ireland before the arrival of Christianity. Just as he expelled the snakes, Patricio faced the druids and their influence on the people. He confronted his beliefs with courage, promoting the Christian faith as an alternative to the druid tradition. Thus, the miracle does not only refer to the expulsion of physical creatures, but also to the replacement of paganism with a new faith centered on Christ. Although it is widely accepted that Ireland has never had large numbers, the power of history is in its lasting symbolism. The spiritual transformation that St. Patrick brought to Ireland continues to inspire today. Its mission, represented by miracles like this, is remembered every year on St. Patrick's Day, not just in Ireland, but around the world. Thus, the history of the expulsion of snakes, more than a simple legend, is a testimony of the power of faith and the impact. The resurrection of dead. The resurrection of the dead is one of the most powerful miracles associated with St. Patrick and serves as a testimony of the depth of your faith and role as intermediate of divine power. Throughout his missionary life, Patricio has performed this miracle several times, always with the purpose of showing God's power over life and death, and also to convert hearts to Christianity. The legend of St. Patrick brings many reports of resurrections, and these events, by their extraordinary nature, deeply impacted the Irish society of the time, strengthening their influence as a spiritual leader. One of the most famous cases occurred when Patricio was called by the family of a rich man who had died without converting to Christianity. The story tells that, in the face of the despair of the family, which he feared for the soul of man, Saint Patrick presented himself and, with fervent prayers and total confidence in the power of God, was able to bring him back to life. This impressive miracle not only shocked the family, but also spread quickly between the local tribes, creating a large wave of conversions. The risen man, grateful for the second chance, immediately became Christianity with all his family, becoming a living testimony of the power of God. These resurrection miracles not only showed Saint Patrick's spiritual power, but also had a deep psychological and social impact. In Celtic culture of the time, death was surrounded by many pagan rituals, and the idea of a return to life was something that transcended human understanding. When Patricio made these resurrections, he was, in a way, breaking with ancient spiritual traditions, replacing them with a new understanding of life, death, and salvation. He showed the people that the Christian God had absolute control over the fate of souls, which was an extremely powerful message. In addition to the spiritual and emotional impact, resurrection miracles also had a political effect. Like much of Irish society was organized around tribal leaders and powerful families, the conversion of a chief or a prestigious man had a massive influence on the rest of the community. Each resurrection held by Patrick, therefore, was not only a miraculous event, but also a strategic act that often resulted in mass conversion of entire villages, consolidating Christianity as a growing force throughout Ireland. The reports of the resurrections made by Saint Patrick reinforced the idea that his mission was not just to preach, but of turning lives concretely. By bringing the dead back to life, he symbolized the spiritual rebirth of a nation that, once immersed in paganism, now awakened into the light of Christianity. These events have become an integral part of the history of Saint Patrick, being passed from generation to generation, and contributing to his vision as a saint of great power and devotion. The poisoned chalice miracle. During his mission in Ireland, Saint Patrick faced numerous challenges, especially from the druids, who saw a threat to their spiritual power and influence on the people. One of the most dramatic episodes involving this opposition was the famous poisoned chalice miracle. In an attempt to silence Patricio and disbelief before his followers, the druids plotted to poison him during a public ceremony. They invited him to a date, where they secretly poisoned his drink, believing that it would solve the problem he represented. Upon receiving the poisoned chalice, Saint Patrick realized the malicious intention of his enemies. Demonstrating unshakable confidence in God and without fear, he made the sign of the cross on the chalice before drinking. Miraculously, the poison was neutralized. Patricio then drank the content before everyone, without suffering any damage. This event was seen as a powerful sign of divine protection that accompanied him, and both his followers and the druids were impressed. This miracle served as a public testimony of the faith of Saint Patrick and its connection with the power of God. The attempted druids of murdering him eventually strengthened his authority and credibility among the Irish, who saw in this event an unmistakable sign that he was protected by heaven. Moreover, the fact that he faced the danger with such serenity and confidence, without resorting to violence or revenge, showed the true spiritual strength that Patricio had. The impact of the miracle was immediate and lasting. Many who witnessed the event began to question the validity of pagan practices, and some even converted to Christianity. Even among those who did not convert, Saint Patrick's reputation as a man of God grew considerably, solidifying his position as a spiritual leader and weakening control of the druids. This miracle clearly demonstrated that Patrick's power was not just his preaching, but of a deep connection with the divine. This event also reinforces the idea that Saint Patrick's mission was not just a matter of words or doctrine, but a spiritual battle against the forces that opposed the Christian truth. In surviving this attack with an attitude of peace and forgiveness, he showed the true Christian spirit, gaining even more hearts for his mission. This episode was undoubtedly one of the most decisive moments on his journey through Ireland. The miracle of the clover. Although the miracle of the clover may not fit into the traditional definition of a supernatural miracle, The way St. Patrick used this common plant to explain the complex doctrine of the Blessed Trinity was considered a true gift of divine inspiration. The clover, a native and common plant in Ireland, was brilliantly used by Patricio as a pedagogical tool to teach about the nature of God, a simple but deeply effective approach that resonated with the Irish, helping them to understand one of the central doctrines of Christianity. Patricio was aware that the notion of a God who is simultaneously Father, Son, and Holy Spirit was difficult to understand to many. To make this idea more accessible to the people, he took a 3-sheet clover and explained that, just as the clover has 3 leaves connected to one stem, God is one, but manifests himself in 3 distinct people. This simple but visually powerful teaching was crucial to breaking the barriers of understanding and facilitating the conversion of many Irish. The choice of clover also showed the cultural sensitivity of St. Patrick. Instead of imposing foreign concepts abruptly, he used a local and familiar symbol for the people, which facilitated the acceptance of the new faith. This respectful and inclusive method helped create a bridge between traditional beliefs and Christianity, showing that the new faith did not need to be seen as a threat, but as a spiritual complement. The use of the clover by St. Patrick has also become one of the most lasting legacies of his mission. To this day, the clover is one of Ireland's most recognized symbols, especially during St. Patrick's Day celebrations. For many, he is a reminder of the simple but deep power of faith and the ingenious way St. Patrick brought Christianity to a people who lived under a root pagan tradition. Thus, the miracle of the clover may not have been a visible supernatural manifestation, such as the healing of a patient or the resurrection of a dead man, but it was a miracle of divine pedagogy, a gift of wisdom that demonstrated how the gospel can be adapted and communicated in a way that deeply touches people's hearts and minds. With this analogy, Patricio changed the course of faith in Ireland forever. The light that didn't turn off. The Beltane festival was one of the most important celebrations for the Druids and the pagan people of Ireland. Held in early May, it was a rite that symbolized the return of summer and the renewal of life, with bonfires lit in honor of the pagan gods of fertility and nature. In this profoundly spiritual context, St. Patrick decided to directly challenge the beliefs of the Druids, lighting a Christian fire at a crucial moment of the celebration. This act, although apparently simple, was incredibly bold, because, in the Druid tradition, only the Druids had the right to light bonfires at sacred festivities. The bonfire of St. Patrick was lit on top of Slains Hill, openly challenging the authority of the Druids and their rituals. The Druids, realizing the danger that this bonfire represented to their spiritual rule over the people, tried in every way to put out the fire. However, as much as they struggled, the Christian flame continued to burn with supernatural intensity. This event quickly became known as the light that did not turn off, symbolizing the power of Christianity to prevail over the darkness of paganism. King Leogair, who was one of the main supporters of the Druids, was deeply disturbed by what happened. He called Patrick to explain his action. In front of the king and the Druids, Patricio showed no fear. On the contrary, he took the opportunity to preach about the light of Christ, which can never be erased, regardless of the circumstances. This confidence and physical evidence that fire could not be extinguished impressed both the king and the Druids. Although Leogair did not immediately convert, he allowed Patrick to continue his mission for Ireland. This miracle had a deep meaning for the Irish people. The unappealable flame was not only a visible sign of God's power, but also a representation of the triumph of the new faith over ancient pagan traditions. The event marked an important turning point on St. Patrick's mission, as he showed that the Christian message was unbeatable and that the ancient rituals could not match the divine power he brought. With this event, Patricio further consolidated his spiritual authority and the respect of the people. Slains bonfire, which challenged the Druid attempts to erase it, became a lasting symbol of Christianity in Ireland. To this day, many see this moment as one of the clearest manifestations of God's power in St. Patrick's life and in his mission. The fire that never erased continues to be remembered as a metaphor of the Christian faith that, once lit in the heart of a person or a nation, cannot be extinguished by the opposite forces. The conversion of 2 Druid brothers. Among the many confrontations of St. Patrick with the druids, the story of the conversion of the convert and Mariac brothers is especially remarkable. These two brothers were highly respected druid priests, deeply rooted in pagan traditions, and served kings with their enchantments and rituals. They were powerful, both in political and spiritual influence, and represented a significant barrier to the spread of Christianity in Ireland. However, St. Patrick, guided by his unshakable faith, saw the opportunity to confront them and show the superior power of God. The meeting between Patricio and the two druid brothers was intense. Convert and Mariac used all their mystical skills and enchantments to discredit the Christian missionary and show his own spiritual strength. But Patricio, firm in his confidence in God, responded with powerful prayers, asking for divine protection and the illumination of the hearts of the two men. Miraculously, the enchantments of the brothers were undone one by one, demonstrating the weakness of their powers before the strength of the Christian faith. The spiritual defeat of the brothers was just the beginning. With their dismal enchantments and challenged authority, Convert and Mariac began to question their pagan beliefs. They witnessed the power of Patrick's prayer, not as a mystical or magical force, but as a direct expression of God's love and will. This experience had a deep impact on their lives, and both decided to abandon their old practices and convert to Christianity, becoming Patrick's faithful followers. The conversion of these two druids was not just a spiritual event, had cultural implications and significant policies. As high-ranking priests, Convert and Mariac had a great influence on their communities and the served kings. His conversion shook the foundations of paganism in the region and led many others to question their own beliefs and consider the new faith. The fact that two of the most powerful spiritual leaders of ancient religion converted to Christianity was a great victory for St. Patrick and opened doors for more mass conversions. Converted to Christianity, the two brothers became great defenders of the new faith, completely abandoning their ancient practices. They began to preach the gospel, assisting St. Patrick on their mission to convert Ireland. The story of his transformation, from powerful druids to followers of Christ, is a testimony of the power of divine grace and the perseverance of St. Patrick. It also reinforces the idea that Christianity, although initially seen as a threat to local traditions, had the power to transform even the most resistant hearts. Healing of the blind and crippled. St. Patrick's compassion and spiritual power have manifested themselves in many healing miracles throughout their missionary journey through Ireland. One of the most recurring types of miracles attributed to it is the healing of blind and crippled. Patricio, driven by faith and a deep sense of mission, was dedicated to bringing relief and physical healing to those who needed the most, which not only relieved the suffering of people, but also strengthened his reputation as a man of God, capable of perform supernatural deeds. In many villages, Patrick was received with supplications by miraculous healing. Blind who could not see from birth and crippled who had difficulty getting around sought their divine intercession. Patrick prayed fervently for them, always attributing the power of healing to God, and often the sick recovered the vision or the ability to walk. These miracles not only offered hope to affected individuals, but also served as a tangible way to show the power and mercy of Christianity. One of the most notable cases of healing was that of a tribal boss who had lost his sight. Desperate to be healed, the leader was taken to St. Patrick. The story tells that Patricio, in an act of deep faith, prayed intensely for him and immediately the man recovered his vision. Assigning the miracle to the Christian God, the boss, in a gesture of gratitude, became Christianity. This event was decisive, because its conversion took the entire tribe to follow the example of the leader, embracing the Christian faith and abandoning its pagan practices. Patrick's healing miracles reinforced their message that Christianity was not only a spiritual doctrine, but also a living and practical force that could transform people's lives concretely. These acts of physical healing symbolized, in a way, the spiritual healing he brought to Ireland, restoring the light of faith in a land that had been blinded by paganism for centuries. Each miracle was a visible testimony that the new faith had the power to transform and redeem. These miraculous healing not only attracted followers, but also challenged pagan religious leaders who could not replicate such deeds. The druids, who were seen as figures of spiritual power, often tried to discredit Patrick, but their miraculous healing were witnessed by so many that Christian influence only grew. Healing miracles strengthened St. Patrick's place as a spiritual leader and legitimized Christianity as a divine faith irresistible to ancient beliefs. The Snow Miracle. One of the most unusual and symbolic episodes of St. Patrick's life was the snow miracle. This miracle has not involved healing or resurrections, but a natural phenomenon that was interpreted as a clear manifestation of divine will. The story takes place during St. Patrick's effort to build a church in a hill, in an area where he faced resistance from a local leader who opposed construction. The boss did not see the need for a new place of worship and resisted firmly, arguing that terrain should not be dedicated to the new faith. St. Patrick, however, was convinced that specific hill was God's chosen place for the church. In response to the opposition, Patricio prayed fervently, asking for a divine sign that showed God's will. That night something extraordinary occurred. An unexpected snowfall covered the entire hill, except for the exact place where Patricio had proposed the construction of the church. The hill, now snow-white, clearly highlighted the space chosen for the church, and the miracle was seen as irrefutable evidence of divine favor. The local boss, seeing the unusual phenomenon, was deeply impressed. For him, there was no denying that the chosen place was blessed by God. Reluctantly but now convinced, he gave his permission for the church to be built without further questions. This event marked not only the approval of the boss, but also the acceptance of the new faith throughout the local community, which he saw in his blackness a clear sign of God's presence and will. The snow miracle symbolizes the way St. Patrick faced opposition with faith and patience. He did not use strength or manipulation to overcome his opponents, but fully trusted divine providence to guide his actions. The fact that nature has manifested himself so clearly and precisely reinforced the belief that Patrick's mission was being directly guided by God, and this had a profound impact on the acceptance of Christianity by the population. In addition, the miracle is also seen as a metaphor of spiritual purification that Patricio brought to Ireland. Just as snow covered the hill, Patricio's Christian message began to cover the Ireland, purifying the old practices and bringing a new era of faith and devotion. The place where the miracle occurred became sacred to Irish Christians, and the church built there was an important milestone in the mission of St. Patrick. If you liked this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends, and activate the bell not to lose tomorrow's video.